Jessica, it's exciting, a spiritual treat to open the pages of the Book of Mormon and discover the signs on every page, and to follow those signs to their source. Each one indicates that Joseph Smith did not make up this book. There are just too many signs to think he didn't have the plates. We've already looked at the first page, so let's look at the next. On this page, there are at least 12 to 13 signs that are very exciting to look at, but today we'll just talk about one. So we'll take this one down here, translated by Joseph Smith Jr. It was through Joseph Smith that the book was received and translated. And when my friend told me about an angel who directed Joseph to go to the place where the plates were buried, I had one burning question. Where was Joseph Smith mentioned in the Bible? My friend didn't know whether it was in the Bible or not, but I never forgot the question and began looking myself in the scriptures. It took a long time and some help to find out that, yes, he is clearly mentioned in the Bible. The prophet Isaiah not only mentioned him, but described some very important things about him. Isaiah foretold that Joseph Smith would receive a sealed book. Isaiah didn't use a modern English name, Joseph Smith, but in ancient times the Lord gave names to people that described something about them. For example, Jesus means one who saves, and he did. Peter means rock, and he became a solid rock. Moses means pulled out of the water, and that's how the Egyptians found him. Actually, Jesus was given about 200 names which describe him perfectly. Moses had at least 10 names. Isaiah mentioned Joseph Smith when he foretold who would receive that sealed book and how would it be translated. In Isaiah 29, 11, and 12, Isaiah said that there would be a special sealed book and that some of the words from the book would be given to a man who was expert at reading ancient languages to see if he could read them. But the learned scholar, when he was asked to read them, would say, "I cannot read a sealed book." Isaiah explained that the scholar was not given the whole book, but just some of the words from it. Isaiah also foretold that the entire book would be given to a man to read. He would not be a great scholar. He'd be a humble man who would not have a great knowledge about books. It's interesting to watch through the ages how Bible translators have changed the description of the man who was to receive the golden plates and the sealed book. I have in this room about 35 major Bible translations, and they have many ways of describing that man. As you look at the text, you'll see how the wording changed, but the ultimate meaning didn't change very much. First, this is the little book my mother gave me a few years before my friend gave me the Book of Mormon. You can see the underlining and the notes I made around this prophecy as a teenager about 70 years ago. It's the King James Version from 1611, and it calls Joseph him who is not learned. In 1395, the first English translation was made by John Wycliffe and John Purvey. We believe that John Purvey translated this portion. It says, "The man who would receive the book was him that knoweth not letters." But the description changed through later translation. Here are just a few. "He who was not learned, he who was unlearned." And this is an original edition of one of the primary German Bibles, printed in 1651. I treasure this historic scripture and the dear people who presented it to me. In this passage, it reads, nicht lesen kann, forgive the poor German, but it means he that cannot read. And look at this. It's a photographic copy of the earliest Isaiah scroll. The original was discovered in 1946 at Qumran, near the Dead Sea. The original Isaiah scroll is displayed in Jerusalem as one of the greatest treasures of Israel. It's believed to have been written 100 to 300 years before Christ. And just consider, the original text that you see was in existence when Jesus was born in Bethlehem. And it contains the amazing prophecy concerning the man who would receive the sealed book. It says, Lo, Yoda, Sefer, literally, he who does not know books. In other words, he wasn't ignorant. He was a farmer, not a scholar. The original scroll from over 2,000 years ago tells us who would be given the sealed book. We mentioned before the farmer named Martin Harris who helped pay for the printing of the book. Martin Harris took a paper copy of some of the characters from the book to a scholar who was able to read ancient languages. The scholar's name was Charles Anton, and he was a leading professor of ancient languages at Columbia College in New York. When he was told the plates were sealed, he commented, "I cannot read a sealed book." And that's what Isaiah said, the professor would say. The book itself was given to Joseph, who was not skilled in reading ancient languages. But the Bible said the Lord would do his own work. So, through the power and Spirit of God, he gave the translated words to Joseph. Joseph then spoke them, and a scribe wrote them down. Lo, Yoda Sefer was what the Lord called Joseph Smith, a man who did not know books. And here is an amazing secret. We can share some of the same experience that Joseph had. Can you imagine? If we can lay down our own thoughts, if we can set aside our own opinions, if we can be truly humble and submissive, the same Spirit that revealed the truth of the book to Joseph can also reveal the truth of the book to us. It's the same Spirit, the same book.